Okay, the other night I was reviewing James Bamford's book, which I have buried over here in a stack. And that reminded me about another James Bamford book that I have. And I reviewed this a while back, but it's kind of lost in my older reviews. So some of you new to the channel, just know that I have some older content that's lurking way back my format may not be as polished, but there's some good information back there too, so definitely check that out. So I hope I don't repeat too much of this, but I thought this was definitely worth revisiting. So, excuse me. This is A Pretext for War by James Bamford, 9/11, Iraq, and the Abuse of America's Intelligence Agencies. And James Bamford is a very mainstream kind of guy, and he is taking the position that very much of a advocate for the intelligence agencies in as polite of a way as you can, I suppose. And this edition is from May 2005, and this is all about the run-up to the Iraq War and the way that a lot of that data got manipulated to bring the United States into the war with Iraq. One of the things that made me think about this the other day, with a lot of the stuff happening now with Israel and, of course, about the Epstein stuff and all that, this one jumped out at me again thinking about this. There is a section in here where it's on page, let's see, on page 403. I originally got this in, I think it was January of 2008. And overall, reading through this book, I almost didn't even finish it because a lot of the information in it was kind of old hat by that point. But on that page of page 403, there's a section that says the Israel factor. And it's all about the role and the influence of Israel pushing the United States towards war with Iraq. And one of the things he talks about in here is the Office of Special Plans, run by, I believe, Douglas Feith. And the interesting thing about that, the Office of Special Plans is kind of this real important key part of the whole thing of going to war with Iraq, the whole pushing the Pentagon in that direction. So even though this was this small Office of Special Plans, they had a major role in dictating policy about the war in Iraq. And one of the curious things in here that happens is he talks about the FBI called in an author, Stephen Green. And I've reviewed some of Stephen Green's books before, and I'll link those at the end of this. And that's another couple of books I'd need to revisit. But Stephen Green was brought in, and he was an author, and I think a former diplomat or something. I forget what all his credentials were. But he was brought in because of his knowledge of some of Israel's intrigue and some of the stuff the Israeli Mossad had done. And he was just an author, so he was asking the FBI, why do you want to talk to me? My books are like from the 80s. What's up? And they said, no, this is a current issue. And I find it really interesting. He mentions his name, Stephen Green, but he never says the books or elaborates anything on that. So it actually took me a little bit of looking to go find the books, which are the two books that he published on Israel are Taking Sides and Living by the Sword. And back when I first found this in 2008, those were very difficult books to get. Now, I think on Amazon, they're relatively easy to find. They're not the unicorns they used to be. But both of those books are really good books and have a lot of really good detailed information about a lot of intrigue with Israel and a lot of, again, all open source intelligence, all stuff that he had access to. And in fact, I think after Stephen Green wrote Taking Sides, in the end of the book, he even says some of this stuff may be retroactively classified because I'm writing this book. But really interesting, this Office of Special Plans and its connection to Israel, and then thus the bigger connection to the Iraq War. So if for no other reason, this book is worth it for that. Unfortunately, like I said, you got to wade through a lot to get to it, but the last, I would say, 100 or so pages are pretty good, if for no other reason than that part of the equation, and just understanding the role of Israel helping steer that. And if you've read The Israel Lobby by Mearsheimer, I think is his name, and his buddy Walt, something, that one's a really good one on that too. But anyway, I thought I'd revisit this before I forgot about it, because in light of doing some stuff on James Bamford, I really need to, I think I have at least one more book by James Bamford I need to go dig out and review. But like I said, this one, he's a pretty mainstream guy, and he kind of points out the dots, and if you're an astute reader, you can easily connect those dots. And I don't know if that's intentional on his part or what, because he kind of takes this aw shucks approach and just kind of presents the stuff and then leaves it to you to figure out. But he's the one I mentioned in my previous review on Body of Secrets, where he was on the Diane Rehm show on NPR. And when he was explaining the Operation Northwoods to Diane Rehm, and Diane Rehm, that was a pretty mainstream NPR show, and she was horrified as soon as he explained the Operation Northwoods, the whole idea of falsifying a terror attack and blaming it on Cuba. She immediately made the connection to 9/11 and said, "You don't think that's what happened on 9/11?" And of course, Bamford, ever the good boy there, was like, "Oh, no, of course not," and immediately backed off of that. So the dude knows some things, but is I think, very reluctant to overtly connect the dots that he's pointing out. But anyway, that is A Pretext for War by James Bamford. And this is from 2005. And if for no other reason, it's valuable for that section on the Office of Special Plans. So I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. And again, thanks for joining the channel. I apologize. Sometimes I have golden information. I know sometimes it's a little bit more mundane, like some of this. But those of you digging into a lot of the intrigue, still current intrigue with, I think the potential for a war with Iran is very high. And I think that's all the more reason to be vigilant about these things. And to those of you that would say, well, what can we possibly do about it? Well, we can say no. If everybody refuses to participate, a war can't happen. So there's a lot of power in the everyday person of saying, no, I refuse to go along with that. No, I'm not going to allow my child to participate in that effort or whatever. But we do have way more power than we give ourselves sometimes. So anyway, I'll stop there. But again, thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting the channel.